Hello, good morning to everyone. So let's have a quick daily briefing for today and just a quick market recap on yesterday's data. Okay, so first things we have the durable goods order for US monthly basis for the month of June. So the previous data was 3.2% and forecasted at 2.1%. And for the actual data, it was 0.8%. So lower than the forecasted and it did not beat the previous data. We also have the consumer confidence for US for the month of July. So the previous data was 128.9 and forecasted at 123.9. And for the actual data, it was 129.1. So higher than the forecasted and beats the previous data as well. Now right here, as you can see, the dollar index retreated yesterday on its daily highs of 92.78. So the price retreated from 92.78 all the way to 92.41 due to the tech-related stocks for this week. Because if we're going to base on the earnings calendar for this week, majority of the technology-related stocks are down. So that is why the price of dollar index retreated from as of this moment. But overall, we have to pay attention for the next morning because the interest rate decision for US for the month of July will be released for 2 a.m. And economic data today. So earlier we have the weekly crude oil stock. So the previous data is 0.806 million and forecasted at negative 3.433 million. And for the weekly crude oil stock, the actual data is negative 4.728 million. Now, despite of the COVID-19 variant for other countries, the price of oil remains steady for third consecutive sessions. The price still remains at 72 per barrel. And for the Asian session, earlier today we also have the inflation rate for Australia, quarterly basis for second quarter. So the previous data is 0.6% and forecasted at 0.7%. And for the actual data, it was 0.8%. So it's slightly higher than the forecasted and it meets the previous data. And for the inflation rate as well on a yearly basis for Australia, so previous data is 1.1% and forecasted at 3.8%. And for the actual data, the yearly basis for inflation rate for Australia was 3.8%. So this one was way higher comparing with the previous one. So the last time they've had 3.8%, it was year 2003 based on the statistics. But overall, the data for the Aussie did not create any significant move because if we're going to base on the pandemic side, as we all know, the Australia is still set on the lockdown, majority of the cities, and as well as the Sydney, which is the biggest city in the Australia. But for the Asian session, the current price of Aussie dollar still remains at 0.7360 territory. So for European session, we have to focus on the consumer confidence for Germany later at 2 p.m. And for the US session, we have a handful of data. So number one, we have inflation rate for Canada, monthly basis and yearly basis for the month of June, later at 8:30 p.m. And we also have the crude oil inventories later at 10:30 p.m. And then the next day, 2 a.m. in the morning, we have to focus on the Fed interest rate decision for US. And a key product for today, we have the USD against Canadian dollar. So since we have data for the CAD and US, definitely it may affect the value of the USD against the CAD. But during the Asian session, the current price of Canadian dollar is around the 1.2580. But for today's range, we can look for 1.2557 and 1.2513. And the possible resistance is 1.2623 and 1.2648, respectively. Again, for the European session, we have consumer confidence for Germany. And for the US session, we have inflation rate for Canada, yearly basis and monthly basis as well, and weekly crude oil inventories. And then the next morning, we have the Fed interest rate decision. All right, so thank you everyone for joining our daily briefing today. Please stay safe and have a great day.